On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're bringing you inside the chic Parisian apartment of iconic tabletop designer Marie Daâge. Fascinated by color and pattern, Marie's home is an extension of her world-renowned hand-painted porcelain collections. Sophisticated, luxurious, and cool. Enjoy this special episode presented by Homeworthy and Marie Daâge. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hello, I'm Marie Daâge. Welcome, bonjour, bienvenue. Welcome to my home in Paris. Hello, welcome at my house. I am Marie Daâge, designer for Tabletop since 30 years. You are here in my apartment in Paris. We are in the 8th arrondissement, really in the middle of Paris, in this very famous Haussmannian part of the town. So I have a big family. I have 6 children. So this was a family house and also my work house, because I had a showroom here. So we used to be 8 people living here. Today my children are grown up and I just have my husband and 1 boy with us. And then the other one are coming from time to time. So the building is from the 1870. So it's a very lovely building en pierre de taille, we say. We are here on the 4th floor, which is, I think, very nice because we are in the sky and I have the view on the toit of Paris. And I have a lovely view on when I am on the balcony, because on the 4th floor you have the balcony running along the apartment, which for me is nice because for me it's like having a little garden and having not being in the street. You know, it maintains you a little privacy outside, which is luxury in Paris. And when I am on my balcony, I have a wonderful view on the left on the dome of the church Saint-Augustin, which is a little bit like a Roman view, because it's the highest dome of Paris. So the story of Marie Daâge was really an improvisation, and it grew up with my family. I started to do porcelain when 30 years ago. I had some lessons with friends. And I never had imagined that one day it could become a job and a company like it is today. During all my childhood, in fact, decoration, table art was really in the center of the family atmosphere. And so very naturally, when I started to paint porcelain, I jumped in the thing. And for me, it was not only painting some patterns, but it was also bringing a whole lifestyle, which is the French identity of l'art de vivre à la française, table art. Okay, so welcome here in my foyer. So as you see, right at the beginning, you have my identity. I am a stripe lover. So all around the place, you are welcomed by these stripes, black and white, which allows me to put lots of different color, because everything is matching with black and white. Here, my wishes was also to enlarge the space. So as you will see a lot around my house, I love to play with mirrors. Initially, you had this little niche, which is a beautiful niche, very Haussmannian, with this interesting work of wood, and on the top also you see the branches. It's a very beautiful Haussmannian work, and there was already this mirror. I just put it some lamps to make a little bit of dramatic decor. Here I put my bird. I'm also a bird lover. It's a bird from Brazil, which is welcoming you in the house. And on the other side, I create this mirror which goes from the top to down, so that it's like a little trompe-l'œil. We have the impression that the flat is going. You have the reflection of the two mirrors, which is interesting. I painted in this blue black, not completely black, but always this subtle tone, and with this commode in front. This is a sculpture of a very dear friend, Marine Daâge. You will find some other one in the rest of the house. A lot of art pieces are pieces made by friends. I love to be surrounded with what my dear friends are doing, beautiful things. Here my little goblet, which is used as a perfume candle, because I have 3 fragrances, all made in grass. I think it's important when you arrive in a place, you have the colors, but you have also the smell. I mean, all your sense must be attracting, the eye. I love to put music, so when you arrive, you will have the eyes with the stripes, the music, and a little bit of perfume welcoming you. So here we have 2 chairs, Austrian chairs, Biedermeier, very typical, with this black little detail. It comes from my grandmother. Something a little bit surprising here, which shouldn't be here, it's this huge picture, this huge tableau. In fact, we just bought it in auction. It's the grandfather of my husband, which was a famous painter, and it was done for an exhibition in the 19th century. So this is here, but this should go in my country house. It's a little bit big here in Paris. To stay in the paintings, here we have some view of the sea. This we find it in the attic, in the countryside, and in fact it's made by a quite famous painter, so it was really a lovely discover in the attic. On the other side I have 2 paintings of trains, which were made by another grandfather of my husband, so it was quite an artistic family. Here you see the window, the light is coming from this very, very lovely stained glass, which is a typical Haussmannian part of piece that you will always find in the entrance of a house, which is lovely turquoise and champagne color pattern. I think it brings really a lovely color inside. And in the night, I have some lights, so that when you arrive, you really have this like a picture. It's very beautiful in the evening. Here, some plant green, because that's also typical from the 19th century. In all these apartments, you would always have these exotic trees. They were fascinated by exotism in the 19th century. On the floor, I have this carpet, black and white, which is from the 50s, coming from the Galerie Yves Gastou, which was really the man who brings the 50s update and famous. So this is my entrance. What I love in my job is that it's combining workcraft, handcraft work, and thanks this technique that I'm really maintaining, which is a hand-painted porcelain. This is something which is disappearing today. I think we are the only one still doing 100% free hand-painted porcelain. And so it's very exciting to maintain this tradition and to be, to be the one who will keep this alive. When I arrived in Limoges, trying to find people who can paint with me, for me, because I was painting alone, and at the end it was too much. I was painting day and night, it was crazy. I arrived in some little atelier and they were all closing because there were no business anymore on hand-painted porcelain. So for me, it's really very exciting to think that I maintain this tradition. The other thing which is very nice with table art is that it's something which has something to do with entertaining, with being together, with sharing, you see. So it's not only decoration like curtains or sofa, it's really dressing a table and being part of this important time of the life. I think in life, all important moments like meeting someone, introducing your fiancé to your family, enjoying because you have a successful year. So with all your colleagues, you are going to organize a dinner. And in the historical part, all the wars, all the weddings between queens, everything was around a table. It was a diplomatic way of showing your power, and it's a nice way also to share and to say to your family, you are important for me and I'm going to spend time dressing a lovely table. From the entrance, I will bring you to a very important room for me, because this is a room where I spend during 20 years 80% of my time. I mean, this is my office showroom, which is really a room. It was very important when I decided to buy this flat, because I was looking for a space where I could work by being also at the same time in my house. This room used to be the historical dining room of the house. It's very typical again, Haussmannian. The decoration of the ceiling, of the walls, of the chimney is a typical Renaissance inspiration of the, let's say, the Loire Castle Valley style, with this ceiling in caisson, we'll say, and this very amazing chimney, wooden chimney, a little bit crazy, completely oversized, I think. But I love it, and we are the only one in the whole building still having this chimney. So it's really a historical piece. Also very typical from the traditional dining rooms in the Haussmannian style is a bow window. Because in the dining rooms you always had a bow window where they used to put some, a little bit like a green garden. I think in the 19th they put in these plants. So for us it was, of course, fabulous to have this, because this used to be the showroom. We were also doing some shootings, so the lighting here is fantastic. So as you see here, the walls, I have dared to do them in gold. It was important for me to find a warm color. I hate boring things, so I wouldn't have done it in gray or white, of course. But I needed something which would quite neutral and which could rise up all my palette of colors. So gold was ideal. And I choose here this lovely gold fabric to separate this part of the room with the other part where I have a little oven to experiment my colors. It's my little technical place beside. So here all around the walls you have these shelves where I used to put all my new collection. This was the space where I have my clients coming. The parquet, the wooden parquet, I painted it in black, again to have something quite neutral. So here it's really a play with black, white and gold. You see here you have the heaters which are hide in this boiserie, black. I did the black frame here. And black, of course, all the iron étagère for my porcelain. Here briefly I can explain you my concept, which is quite easy to understand here. On the table you see lots of colors. This is my palette. I have 68 colors that I all create myself. It's really like creating a perfume by mixing some colors. Sometimes there are 8-10 colors for one color. And beside, I have my little oven where I taste my colors, because colors can change after being heated. So this is really a work like creating a perfume. So the way it works, my concept is you have 68 colors and 90 collection, 230 different patterns. Here I have illustrated all my plates in only 3 very neutral colors. So this is the way to work. Choose your pattern, choose your colors, and you create your own set. That's all about Marie Daâge. It's really to be able to have completely bespoke sets. So in fact, you see here, what I have done is that I have chosen always, you can see all the plates are the same color. It's really to explain the concept. All the plates here are done in 3 colors, neutral colors, 2 shades of blue and gray. For instance, when you look at a plate like this, you see, you have navy, dark blue, light blue, and some gray lines. This means that you can choose 3 colors. And so this plate can become a plate like this. So here, what I have done is that I have chosen some pink, some green, and some gold. And it gives me a plate like this. This plate could be like this. Here, my client, you have chosen some orange, some celadon, and some brown. So depending on the fabrics, on the style of the house, I will really make exactly bespoke collections for the client, which is fantastic because it allows everyone to become very creative. That's why my designers love to work with us, because they can offer to the client something so much personalized. It's really so important. And so you have your own set matching to your house, which is something that you couldn't have if it was printed. You see this plate, for instance, again, 3 colors have been chosen. We have chosen some green, we have chosen some blue, and we have light up the middle with some red. This could be in gray and black, and the look will be completely different. So there are as many possibilities as your imagination could imagine. And I love when it's a little bit borderline. So this concept allows to do some very daring sets, because they are all individual. So it's great, it's fun. So here we are in the sitting room. Sitting room is looking in the roads, and you have the balcony all along the flat. This room used to be a double room. Here, when I arrived, there was a hole here. So you could go in the other room, and there were these 2 double doors on both sides, which was a little bit strange. I think that historically here there was a glass door, but which has disappeared. So I decided to put this big mirror. It's a traditional way of doing mirrors in mercure. That's why you have all these little spots, but it makes it more interesting, and it's a nice link with the old mirrors, which used to be already in the flat on top of all chimneys. So here, this mirror, traditional mirror, where already it's part of the building, so 1870. I didn't change anything. It was gold like this, with this interesting gray painting around. So you see a lovely wooden work all around the mirror. As we are in the ceiling, one thing which I loved also a lot in this apartment is the sophistication of the work of stuffo, we say. You see on the ceiling there are all these volute plaster work, which is again really the Haussmannian style, and on the top of all the doors also a very beautiful work of flowers and branches. I try to really rise them up by leaving all this framing of the doors in white. As the walls, I choose this color which I create. I spent quite a lot of time trying to find this color because I didn't want that it becomes palm or brown. So it's a mix of lots of different colors that I create, in fact. It's a kind of, we call it marron glacé. Very often when I try to find a color for my walls, I go from my palette of colors. So this would be my color number 14, because all my colors have got some numbers, which is marron glacé. And I like very much this color because it allows you everything around. You can put pastel colors, dark pastel colors. It always works. It's a very easygoing background color. So in this room, you will find thousands of different colors. So I really dare to mix everything because I think as long as the colors are subtle and interesting, you can mix them as many as you want. As I'm here, beside the chimney, I decided to do these two banquettes, which are can be open, so you can put lots of books inside, magazines, and I did these pillows in this canvas fabric with very shocking pinks, which will in fact quite contrast with, you will see, for instance, my carpet, which is not at all the same family of colors. But it doesn't matter. As long as the color is beautiful, it will be okay. You see here you have very feminine and shocking pinks color. And in fact, my carpet has much more brown, burgundy, more masculine colors. But it works. It's a beautiful work of iron. It's Irish iron carpet, and as it's handmade, you have very subtle tones, which allows to make the link with more shocking colors. For the sofa, I have these two enormous sofas. You can sit inside and you can read and you fall asleep very quickly because it's so comfortable that it's like being in a bed with all the feathers. The table is very big. I like when you have a very generous table because sometimes also you may have some little spontaneous little dinners. This is a table that I have since 30 years. I made it done, it's in iron. And when we are young married, in our little flat, we had already this huge table and we didn't have any dining room. So we used to have our dining sitting on the floor and being around this table. It was our dining table. It's modern, it's simple, so it can be really mixed with all my more traditional furniture. Here you have two Louis XV bergères. As you see, the fabric's completely different, but it doesn't matter, it mixes. This is coming from Istanbul, some are coming from India. This is a Piafre one, it's an inspiration of this Uzbek pattern. So it's always, I like when I travel to bring back some little souvenirs so that when I'm in my house, I keep on traveling. In front of the chimney, you have these two little poofs, which I love, very convenient when you have a dinner, when you are entertaining, because you can sit like this, you can sit like that, you can bring your poof and have a conversation on the side. I hate when there is a big circle and only this big huge circle. I like when you can move around and have some conversation all around the room. This is a beautiful sculpture from Cyprus. I bought it in auction. I love auctions. So I like auctions because you go there and you never know what you are going to bring back. Sometimes it can be some birds or a chair or a lamp. This time it was this woman, which is, protecting her from the wind. I think she's very feminine. My auction passion comes from my childhood. My mother loved antiques, and I spent a lot of time with her every time we were coming to France in auction. It was in Orléans, in Paris, and I remember the excitement of doing this and saying, shall we get the thing or shall we not get the thing? And it was so fun because you never know really what you are going to have at the end of the day. So this is fun, and also I love antiques because my mother in Martinique was, I think, the first woman who get interested in colonial furniture. The English island had a lot of beautiful furniture, but the French one, people were not interested anymore in colonial furniture. So she used to go to Barbados, to Domingo, and to buy some completely broken things sometimes and to bring them back to Martinique and to have them restored. So all my childhood I was following her and going to this man who was restoring the furniture. So really old furniture is also part of my childhood. On both sides of the chimney you have these two tempera, which are stones. In fact, it was painted in the US. It's a friend, Arnaud Donnet, who did these two paintings. I like these white shades that they bring and this warm atmosphere they bring, and very nearly abstract. Here, another bronze work from my dearest friend Marine Gallo, the same as the one in the entrance. So this idea of being surrounded by friends. So for the curtains, I love this silk color, green, gold, which can be really a good link with all the colors of the room. I want to show you really these details of the windows because these are really very, very beautiful work in bronze that you don't find anymore in all Haussmannian flats. So this is really something also which attracted me a lot when I saw this. And I keep the gold here, and here it's painted in what we call cul de canon. It was really the way to do it in black like this. Moving a little bit more here, I like also very much finding pieces and reinterpreting them. So these were very simple vases that I transformed as a lamp with these branches that I painted in orange to give the impression of coral. So it was a funny way to create some lamps. The orange is linked with this lovely photo, which is also a piece of art made by a friend. And here a little bit of ethnic remember of some African travels that we did with my husband. So I like when it's sophisticated, but not too sophisticated that you think, oh, I'm not daring to sit on this seat, I'm not daring to touch because it's also perfect. It has to be spontaneous, cool, and like it's obvious. It's beautiful, but it's everyday life, and we live with beautiful things, and we deserve it, and we don't have to be scared of that. It's the same thing with my porcelain. I always say to people, don't keep your lovely porcelain in the cupboard. Use them. You deserve to use it. Life should be with beautiful things, and like a flower bouquet. You don't need to have a huge flower bouquet with very sophisticated flowers. Just go in the garden, just go in the countryside and cut some flowers next to the road, some wild flowers. Take some wild leaves from the trees and put them in a bouquet, and that would be the most beautiful bouquet. Don't need to go to the very expensive flower shop. So here we come back to my mirror. These two huge trees are in iron. I bought them in a salon. I thought I would put them on the chimney because it was in a big hall. I didn't have any idea that they were so big. When I arrived here, I said, oh, they're not going to be on the chimney, they're going to be on the floor. But it's like a green garden. And here, a painting of my husband. He's very proud of his painting. Here, a little bit of a wild atmosphere with my African mask, my Austrian grandmother. And here some sound of our travels in the deserts. And this, again, my goblet as a perfume candle, because as I told you, I think in each room it's important to have a little bit of also your nose being interested in something happening. My big piano, demi-queue, very big, takes a lot of space, but you know, it's important to have a good sound, and here it's more your ears which are going to be attracted. I have a son who is a very good piano player and who is creating some music, so it's very nice in the evening. Sometimes when you do cocktails, when he was younger and he wanted to have a little bit of money, he used to play, you know, he was just sitting and play what was coming in his head and play some music for the friends, which I think it's also fun. Here you have a big vase, Marie Daâge vase in Cercle d'Écaille, in this interesting work of brushstroke. And just some branches. You know, I think nothing nicer than big branches. I remember when we were coming back from weekend with my children, they were always complaining because the car was always full of branches. So they have those branches in the head. And at the time we were living at the 4th floor with no lift. So we were, and my husband also was complaining because we were carrying the children, the luggage, the branches, all the little animals coming out of the branches. But you know, it's very important for me. When I'm in the countryside, when I arrive in my house, I open the volet, and first thing I do is to go around and cut branches to put in all the pots. And then I can think about what do we have for eating, is there something in the fridge or not, but important first, branches all around the place. So you see here, I want really to show you the details of the doorknobs, which are really beautiful work. You have this olive leaves work with this little all this work you see with the branches, with a feuille d'acanthe work. It's really a beautiful work, and this I really wanted to maintain. I was lucky because it was already with this original gold. It has never been painted, as it's very often unfortunately done. People paint that in white because they find that gold is too, I don't know what, because they want to make it modern. And so here we really have the original gold bronze work, which is really something very valuable for me. And all the work from the top to the bottom is really from the origin. And on the doors panels you have again this lovely work of wood. So this is the lucky thing when you are arriving in a flat, in an apartment of this period Haussmann, because all the beauty of the ceiling, doors, windows is there, and it's part of the history of the flat. So I think that's important to keep. So here, my balcony, my little garden, Parisian garden, with this very lovely view on the church Saint-Augustin, which is the highest dome of Paris, with a cross on the top. I love this view. It's a little bit my Roman view, Italian view. So on the balcony, this is full of sun in summertime, so it's really nice. And when there is too much sun, we just put a little bit of the store, so it gives the impression to be a little bit at home outside, which is nice. So this is the sitting room. So let's say we are entertaining, we just had a nice aperitif, and now the show is starting. So I say everyone, c'est servi, venez à table, and we open the doors. The room where things happen, where we will entertain, where we will have exciting conversation together, and we will spend a very unique time with friends and family. So this room, as I told you before, used to be linked with the room we just saw, because here again I have this big frame which were empty, and here I decided again to put some mirrors to have this lovely reflection between the different mirrors. I use the same old technique mirrors with all these little dots of mercury, but here, as you can see, instead of having the iron lines, I have just this lovely iron button which will make the intersection of the mirror. So it's another way to cut mirrors and to interpret them. On the other side, the same chimney, because you remember on the other room here it was open, so before you had these two chimneys looking at each other. It's exactly the same chimney as in the other room. It's exactly the same mirror, gold and grey, than in the other room. On the chimney I have this my vase, my Athena vase in the Panache collection, with this lovely work, brush stroke work, which can remind some feathers. Here it's in these blue-grey tones, and around candle. You will see in this room that there are candles everywhere. I find when you have a dinner, it's very important to have a very gentle and soft lighting, because everyone looks so much more nice when you have the lighting of the candle. So everything I can find where I could put a candle, I will use them. I will show you after. So here I have all these glass candles, which I think are nice because in front of the mirror it plays with a reflection of light, with transparency of mirror and glass. So we have here 6 candles in different heights, making a lovely decor in front around the vase. On both sides of the mirror, this gravure en martinet, which was a very famous 18th century naturalist painter, and he was specialized in birds. So this is a collection. I find them in Alexandria in Egypt, where I used to live with my husband when we were just young married. The walls are painted in this soft green, again a color that I have created on my own, mixing some powders, because I think that's really the way to find the subtle green I want to have. Green is also quite a traditional color for dining rooms. In the French dining rooms, when you go to visit some castles, you will often see this vert amande, we call it, almond green, in the dining rooms. Here on the wall, I put these little shelves, which are a fantastic way to change the decor, because depending on the season, depending on the mood or what I have under my hands, I will change what I put on my shelves. It's always change, always. Sometimes you may have flower pots with flowers when it's spring. Sometimes you may have more winter decoration. Sometimes it's blue-gray like here. Sometimes it's orange, yellow. I mean, this can always change. I think in the dining room, it can be really more a theatrical atmosphere. So the decor has to move, has to change, like you will see on the table. This is really interesting. So here today, I have put some plates of my Jardin d'Udaipur collection with these cute little birds ready to fly away. And in the middle, my jars in my iconic Transat collection, stripes, in this snake green and gray shades. And what I love to do also, always, this lighting, because I avoid to light my central light, so full of little lighting spots with the little candles. Here I have silver, old Louis XVI chandelier. On this buffet, the story of the buffet is fun because I find it in the street. It was thrown by someone. I guess this must have been furniture which were used in some traditional shops. Because behind you can see some shelves, so I think the man who was selling was behind this, and it was a shop furniture. So I just painted in the same color of the wall, so that it's really like an architectural element. I keep the wood like it was, I didn't paint it. On the top you have this centre de table, we call it. Also very typical 18th century with the mirror and this work of balcony all around. Here my little teacups, I will show you, not for tea because here we have a dinner, but they can be used for other things. This is my serviteur foot stand, which is a traditional shape that you could find in all the traditional sets. I know in the countryside I have thousands of these in the cupboards because it seems that all the plates get broken, but this you still have them. So I did them now in my modern decor. It's also something that sometimes, here I use it with fruits, which is a traditional way to use them, but I use it also sometimes to put some candle on top, you know, these big round candles. It can be also a nice way to bring light in the middle of the table. So this can become a candle holder, like everything. So here, this very lovely piece of furniture that I find in auction, and I couldn't not buy it because it's Austrian, in fact. It's, you know, it's painted with this, I think it's a little bit of humoristic, and it's a good way to show my collection of carafe, crystal carafe. Like on the chimney, I love the play of transparency, of glass, of crystal, and mirror. In front you have this lovely biscuit work of little boy putting a needle out of his feet, and on the bottom also a lovely biscuit work. So this is also very convenient when you want to put some dishes, or because when we have dinner, we bring the food in the dishes, of course. We don't bring it directly in the plate. So it can be a place where to put dishes. This is a very beautiful Baroque piece, apothicaire tabernacle kasten, we call it in Austria. And it comes from my grandmother. So it's something from the 17th century, so it's quite rare, with a very beautiful work of paneling, of different wood panels. Also, I want to show you my favorite little cup, completely broken, but which inspires me a lot. It's really part of my love with porcelain. This comes from my grandmother, Austrian grandmother, and in Austria, you really also have a very strong tradition of porcelain. And I love the very modern way of painting this thing with black and with this tie-dye work of hand-painted. A beautiful hand-painted work. As you can see, it has got a long story. It has been fixed up several times. So this would be maybe my little totem piece. So now we arrive in the center part of the room and of the house, let's say, because it's a table. I used to have a very traditional English mahogany table, which completely break down. One dinner, it falls down because I think the foods were a little bit damaged, and so it was a big drama. So, and in fact, it was good luck because it was a good opportunity to change and to do some things that I always have wanted to do, is to be able to have two tables or one table. So I asked iron craft man to build these two tables. They are very simple, very modern, very, you shouldn't really notice them. It's because the star here is not the table, the star is what is on the table. So I wanted them to be black, so very neutral. I did some, it's a shiny black, so it's not too much sad. I mean, it has a reflection of the light also, and also of the walls. So it's not like a black hole, you see. It's also not really a color because it's a reflection of lots of different colors. So what is fantastic with these two tables is that I can have lots of different options of organizing my dinner. There are two identical tables. They are not completely square, they are a little bit rectangular. So I can choose to be either a little dinner, 8 people or 6 people, so I would be just around one table, and this will remain free. We can be 12, so I will put the two tables together. Generally, when I put the table together, I put a big tablecloth on top, so it will look like more, the traditional countryside table. Very nice when you have a big family dinner. And if we are a lot, like 16, I find it very nice to have two separate tables, like I did today. Today I did 6 and 6, so 12. Because I think it's nice sometimes to be able to have a general conversation. When it's a big table, you generally speak with your two neighbors, but you don't have a general conversation, which sometimes you would like to have. Even more if I decided that this evening I want to introduce this guy with this woman and this, so it's nice when they can speak together. So it's more intimate to have two tables. They have chat together during the aperitif in the sitting room, and now they are going, and I can choose who I want to speak with who, because I'm going to put this woman next to this man, so that they have to speak. Because very often when you arrive, you are going to speak with the people you know, and the people you don't know, you don't speak with them, which is a little bit sad, because at the end of the dinner, I wanted that this guy meets this guy or this woman, and they have him speak. So during the dinner, I can decide who is going to speak with who. So on a table like this, you can really have interesting common conversation. So that is a little my strategy on the table. So generally I decide, of course, who is sitting next to who. As you know, the French etiquette, there are two different ways of dressing a table. The hostess and her husband will be at the two extremes of the table if you have a big table. This is the English way of présider. And the French way will be, when you have the two tables together, to sit one in front of the other on this side of the table. The more important person on the right of the hostess. It may be someone who have never came to you, it can be the older one, you decide who is the more important person, and then you put, of course, woman, man, woman, one around the table. So here I decided to do two tables of 6, and you will see that on these two tables there are two different color stories going on. Here we are more in the purple, blue shades and red shades. And here on the other table we are more in the green aubergine colors. So in this room you have a big family of chairs from very different countries. So this is, I had a full set of 10 chairs. These are Austrian chairs that I found in auction. I bought them to put them in the mountains, in my chalet in the mountains. But I find that they were really fun in Paris. A little bit unexpected to have these very rustical Austrian chairs, more paysan, farmer chairs. And I find they were fun in this room. And here, more English, traditional English chairs. And on the side, Austrian Biedermeier chairs. So you really have the whole world here. It's very international here. And very different styles, from the most sophisticated to the more rustical. And it works. This was a gift of my mother when we were young married, because for my mother, as I told you, everything which is around the table is very important. So she gave us this traditional English table that we break, but the chairs are still there. And these chairs, the Austrian one, come from my grandmother in Austria. And this, I bought them in auction, in a very little auction house. We were having a weekend by some friends in north of Paris, and we went to this auction just for fun, and suddenly I saw these chairs, and you can't believe them. I bought them €7 the chair. Shh, don't tell it. It was really amazing. This house, I bought it 20 years ago. I wanted to be in the 8th arrondissement because, as I told you, my grandfather used to be not very far from here, and for me as a child, Paris was like the wonderland. And I was always attracted by this part of Paris, which is near Parc Monceau, which is really the Haussmannian part of Paris. So 20 years ago, I was looking for an apartment. I was expecting my 6th child, so we need to have a bigger house, and also linked to my family was my job, and I wanted to have a space in my flat to work. I always wanted to be able to be at home. So it was challenging to find a place where I could have a big place, big room to put my showroom, which were a little bit separated from the family part of the flat. So when I visited this flat, I really had what we call a coup de foudre. And I fall in love with all the details which are part of the structure of this flat. As well as the ceilings, as the doors, the windows. It's a typical Haussmannian flat, which means that when you have the entrance and a big corridor. At the beginning, you have all the rooms for entertaining, big rooms. First one, dining room looking on the courtyard, which is very typical Haussmannian. And then the salon, the sitting room, which is which used to be a double sitting rooms, looking in the street. Then all the bedrooms, and at the very far end of the corridor, the kitchen. Because at the time you had plenty of maids which were helping. So I know a lot of people in Paris now are moving the kitchen next to the dining room. I didn't do that. I keep all my bedrooms because I need all these bedrooms, and I keep the kitchen at the very far of the corridor. So it's true that when we have dinners, we run in the corridor to bring the things. But I find it nice to maintain it as it was. What I think is very important when you are designing, when you are decorating a place, is to maintain the atmosphere, the historical atmosphere, and to bring your identity and a little bit of modernity. So I hate when it's too much deco, matchy, obvious. I love when it's a little bit borderline. And so the colors that I have chosen, for instance, in the sitting room, it was 20 years ago that I chose this color. I wanted to find something which were a little bit of traditional, but also modern, not too invasive, but still there. So it's always this balance between doing something which is really new and keep the spirit of the space. The inspiration is really very spontaneous. It's a lot of also of pieces of furniture, carpets that I find and I fall in love with them. So I think when each piece has its own identity and is beautiful, everything can be mixed together. There are no rules. Okay, so let's go in the rest of the house. So here it's my big corridor. It's also something I really loved when I visit this house, because it's very rare to have such a large corridor in the Haussmann buildings. Generally, they are much more narrow and they are very dark. What is nice here is that you have this window at the end, this square window, because I am the last building of the street, and that's why I have this light coming in, which is very rare. So here you see the stripes. Stripes is like being in the forest. In a forest of stripes. Here I have these two furniture which are very convenient to put all the porcelain and tablecloths and candles and all what you need to dress a table. These big maps of Paris, I found them in the attic in the countryside, and we decided to paint the frame. We did that when we were young married. And you see there are some addresses, some roads, and all these roads were roads where we used to live, or where our grandparents were living, or where we meet, or where was our school. So they all have a little meaning. So it was really fun. It's a little clin d'œil, I would say. So these are two gravures of Italian houses, but the fun little thing is that the frame, I made it, it was 30 years ago when I was doing, as I told you, my marble on frames, on porcelain, on walls, everywhere. So now I show you my bedroom. I wanted to have something very warm, very intimate. So nothing better than putting fabrics on the wall, because it's always it's cut also the louds. It's nice. This is a Pierre Frais fabric. It's an inspiration of these 18th century, 17th century even patterns. This pink red, I find it very warm. I have combined this quite geometric pattern with this braconnier fabric. It's one of my favorite one. When I was not even married, I thought always, one day when I will have a house, I will have the Grand Corail pattern. And this is the Grand Corail. It's really these Persian fabrics, which I absolutely adore. So for the back of the bed, I made this a bit Baroque piece. On the curtains are the same fabric as this. In fact, these used to be some curtains that I had in my first flat, just young married. And I bring them here in my bedroom, and as I have 3 pairs of curtains, I decided to make a baldaquin. The story of this baldaquin is fun because this iron piece was at the beginning not at all meant to be a baldaquin. I did it for the Figaro, the magazine Figaro. They had a subject where they asked 2 designers go to the flea market in Saint-Ouen, buy things and transform them. And that's what I did. So this was a flat iron piece. It used to be this iron decoration on the outdoor of the windows in old houses. So I took it and asked to my iron maker man to do this baldaquin, and I put my 3rd curtain to have a baldaquin. So it ends like this. So these are really my very iconic first fabrics. I break my purse to buy them when I was young married because it was braconnier, very expensive. So, but you know, for me, fabrics is so important. And you see, they deserve because they are 35 years old and still so beautiful. So here again we are on the street, so we have the view on the balcony. In springtime you have a lot of green, so it's nice because it brings a little bit of intimacy. You don't have the neighbors in front of your eyes. On the floor, again I wanted to have something warm, I put a wall-to-wall carpet, a milleret, so you have a lot of shades of colors, which is interesting. The two armchairs are armchairs of Louis Philippe, with this fish pattern here, with a more empire silk fabric. The chimney is very cute. Of course, it's part of the flat. It was already there since ever and ever, with this lovely, funny work of faience here. The mirror also, authentic mirror, was here already. Besides the mirror, I have these two appliques. This may come, I bought them in flea market, but they may come from a church. This is a typical church pieces. On the top here, you have a little family of gravure, all showing some Egyptian landscape. It's a remember of my first 2 years of young married. We were living in Alexandria and spending a lot of time in the antique. There were some antique shops, and so we bought a lot of things there. And so it's all a story about Egypt, about the pharaonic period. A typical campement, you know. This is a view of Cairo. Here you have some battles of Napoleon period, some pharaonic view. Here you can see Napoleon when he did his campaign in Egypt. And this is a map, and we were living in Alexandria on the Mediterranean Sea. To stay in Egypt, this very old carpet, a little bit very, very old, but it's also part of my heart because it's, I think, one of the first things we bought also. We invest. It's a very old carpet. We bought it to the old woman who was selling this. So as it's so old, we keep it on the bed. For the lamp, here you have this antlers. It's an Austrian lamp. With this tartan shade, a little bit strange, but you know, I'm not afraid to mix things. Here, books and books, because you know, it's important to have your books with you. Even when everything is on internet, we need books. On this furniture is a gift of my mother. It's called a semainier. Because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drawers, like the 7 days of the week, semainier, semaine. It's empire style with a column. No, there's a lovely work of bronze, and off top a sleeping woman. So here we create this library because this was a door initially going to the dining room. So we wanted to make it to close it to really separate the bedroom from the dining room. We painted dark red in the beside, and we keep the white frame around. It's always nice to have dark shelves, I think. Here we arrive on this piece of furniture. It was a gift for my husband. It's called a bureau cylindre. It's Louis XVI, and it's very, very convenient to hide the whole mess that you can put here. So, you know, it's better to close it. When I'm here, I think it's very warm and happy. And I feel when you come here, you know immediately that you are in Paris, you see. I hate these flats where, for instance, people will destroy every old thing because they want to have a modern thing. Or this, when you don't know if you are in New York or in Madrid or I don't know where. So I think it's really important to feel the identity. And I love Paris, and so when you arrive here, you can immediately see that you are in Haussmannian flat. And I think you feel comfortable. I have big sofa, and you can, you know, you can really sit well and don't think that you are disturbing something, destroying something. It's a happy family house. So here we have the heater, high-did heater with the stripes, black and white. The map of Paris, very important when you go out to be able to show. It was important before the iPhone, now we don't use it anymore. But okay, so now we are in a kitchen. When we arrived, it was very simple. This very strange size of kitchen. I couldn't say what geometric pattern it is. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 corners. It's also something that you will see very often in the Haussmannian building because it's really the end of the building being linked with the next one. So I wanted to have two spaces in the kitchen. One space where we could have dinner. As you have noticed, we are here very far from the dining room. So I must admit that even if I love lovely tables, I will not have all my meals in the dining room, but a lot here when we are just family. So I wanted to have a nice space where you could have breakfast, lunch, dinner when you don't have a dinner guest or when it's not a Sunday lunch. So we cutted the room with this piece of furniture. Everything was made by order by a Belgian company. We wanted to keep something traditional look, because again I think it's important to respect the style of the construction. But we bring some architectural elements which make it more interesting. So all these pieces we have added them because it was really a very simple, there was nothing on the top, all this corniche didn't exist. The doors were very simple, so we added all the woodwork here on this door also in order to make the room more sophisticated. And we played with all this furniture, with these doors, which some are plain, some are with glass so that you can see inside, and we put some lighting so that, you know, when you have lovely like glasses, it's nice, it's open a little bit the view. So we played with these different panels, and here you see you have the lattice which make it less plain than if it were completely white. I wanted to warm this room, and so I chose this very deep red, browny red, and I wanted to give it a little bit of a country style. So on the floor I put this stone. It's Pierre de Bourgogne, really in the old way of cutting the stone, so very irregular, like you have it. So I create this funny bench, very convenient because you can put lots of things inside. And it reminds me really the Austrian style with this way of cutting the wood, very baroque. and the stag on top, which are also reminding a little bit country, mountains. The lamps are more modern. I like the contrast with these shiny silver lamps. The table is a very rustical country table with a branch in black painted. So it's a play of white, black and red. And here you have a lovely paintings of a friend, Donadieu, who is painting on very old papers, that he find a rubbish paper, and he makes this very interesting work of pastel, aquarelle, painting with inspiration of antique stories. So here it's really the technical part of the kitchen where you work. So there is a view on the courtyard, and for the plan de travail I use some what we call la pierre bleue de Belgique, this blue stone of Belgium. I like because it's very natural and you have a lot of motif on the stone. And for the wall here behind the heater I have some zelige, black zelige, very rustical. Here you can see my cache pose, always important. You can put flowers, but you can put also all the kitchen things. So here it's again this idea of countryside. It's really these buffets that you have in the old kitchen where you can, storage a lot of things, and I like it because it's like nearly like a furniture, like an old furniture, and it makes a link between the technical part and this part, which is more like a little, let's say, dining room. Here on the table I put my verdure collection with this lovely red, which reminds the walls. Here we will have a dinner with a little bit of soup with a calotte plate. These are the typical little pieces to put. It used to be to put the carafe, but it can be used for butter, for whatever. The little flowers again, the goblets, which can be used for water or whatever. My coupe Christophe for bread. So this is a very traditional old shape of the Limoges porcelain. I use it also sometimes to do some bouquet, some low bouquet. Here it's convenient for bread. And here this little teacup, Japanese teacup, which is of course with a little candle waiting to be light up. Because even a little dinner with only everyday dinner, I like to light up a candle. It makes a very common dinner being a little bit special. So that's important. And here my Murano Marie Brondolini glasses. I love. So ready for a little family dinner, and here some branches, again I was at the countryside this weekend, so poof, we cut some branches and we have a little bit of nature arriving in the city, which is quite important when you are living in Paris. So this home is a lot of memory of my family house with 6 children, my business, mixing both things. Sometimes it happened funny things because, when I had my clients coming here, my designers, as I'm in the luxury part, it was very more high-end people used to very sophisticated things. So I remember we were in the showroom doing my show with these clients, and suddenly a baby arrived and said, "Mommy, I'm finished." So it was always this mix of my business, which is really part of my life and that I love. My children grew up in the porcelain, and this family life. So really this mix, which is also very important because, as I say, tabletop really has a lot to do with the private life of everyone, and the art de vivre, and the entertaining and the food, the cooking. So it's not only decoration, it's not only colors and patterns, it's a lot more. So now we are at the end. I show you my house where we are having lovely time with the family, where I used to work also during 20 years. A big space of inspiration here. I hope you enjoy. I enjoy to share with you my little secrets and my passion. As you may have guessed, passion of table, the enjoyment of being really part of the haute couture de la table, sharing l'art de vivre à la française with you. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.